All right, Essie, here we are. I'm going to do a couple of different videos for you. This is the first, and it's actually a correction because I was in error in my instruction. You may remember we were talking about sinuses, and there's this guy named Dr. Mandel who has a bunch of little tricks for dealing with stuff. I think it's motivationaldoc.com, if I'm correct. You should be able to Google it and find him. And the technique that he described is using one hand, taking it to the opposite side. The index finger will go right inside the ear canal, and the thumb, I said it goes up your nose, it doesn't go up your nose. It actually goes just to the outside of the nostril. And then there's this pinching. So we do this, squeeze here, and then take the same side hand and pull gently on the back of the ear 5 times while we're squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. Like that. And then you do the same thing on the other side. And his suggestion or his prescription was as often as you'd like. So I don't know, whether that means every hour on the hour or 3 times a day, but you might try it if you remember and have some idle time over the course of a day or two and just see what happens, see if it works. So there you go. That's our nostril clearing technique or sinus clearing technique. It has very little to do with yoga, specifically as far as I know, although who knows, it may come from some ancient text somewhere. Stranger things have happened. All right, we've got some other stuff coming. Hang on. So, the starting point for anything to do with yoga has to focus on the breath, and even more specifically what we call breath-centric movement. So it's as if the body is relying on the breath in order to animate it. This affects good posture, it affects the nervous system, it affects the energy levels and type of energy based on the type of breathing that we're doing. So it's sort of critical, foundational to what we're doing. So I'm going to stand to the side here so you can see this clearly. I'm going to relax with my feet firmly planted into the floor, feeling the 4 corners of my feet, the inside and outside of the big and little toe ball mounds, and the inside and outside edges of the heel. And then feel almost like I'm pressing into the floor. But my knees are still relaxed. My hips are centered over my ankles, my shoulders over my hips, and my ears, importantly, pulled back over my shoulders. So I'll start with my palms facing behind me and my chin relaxed toward my chest and my shoulders rotated just slightly forward. And then I take an inhale and an exhale. Inhale. The front of the ribs lift. Exhale. They relax. Inhale. I turn my palms forward. Exhale. I release my palms back. Inhale. I feel my spine lifting, my collarbones rising. Exhale. I'm drawing my belly in just a little bit, engaging abdominal muscles. 2 more times. So that's the beginning of breath-centric asana or breath-centric movement in English. And this will be the foundation for a lot of things going forward that anybody does in yoga. As a lot of people will say, without the breath, it isn't really yoga. It's just moving around or stretching or jazzercise. So 8 to 10 times a day at least. If you want to do it a couple of times a day, even better. It will become more natural over time. The body will flow more evenly and more receptively with the breath. So it's worth practicing. Give it a try. So there are 2 things fundamentally that we need to work with in order to get a better, fuller, more expressive breath. The first thing is we need to create the space, which we'll do over time. The second one, and the one we'll work on now, is beginning to exercise this primary breathing muscle called the diaphragm. If we can get the diaphragm to work more fully in a more relaxed, more supple way, we can certainly breathe easier and really use less energy to do so. So we're going to talk about belly breathing or deep diaphragmatic breathing. I'm going to face the side so that you can see my hands, which I'll place just below the rib cage on the sides of my abdomen. And you can do the same thing. My feet are flat on the floor. I'm sitting on a Swiss ball right now, but you can sit in a chair with a fairly hard bottom. We don't want to encourage a slouch, so we want to be able to be fairly upright. And then good posture. So I'm going to be standing tall, shoulders are above the hips, and the ears are drawn back just a little bit, and then we can start to breathe. So take a full inhale and fill the belly. And as you exhale, relax. Breathe into your hands with the in-breath. And then draw the belly in, just slightly engage the abdominal muscles as you exhale. Again, big full breath. And let it out, pressing it a little bit by engaging abdominals. Inhale. Exhale. Again. So, doing this a couple of times a day, maybe 5 minutes a time, can be really helpful. If you get lightheaded, and some people do as they start to take full breaths, then you can back it off a little bit and not do so much. But while you're sitting around, if you watch TV, you can do it driving, obviously not with your hands on your belly. You can do it in bed at night. Just make sure, if you're going to be sitting, that you have a good upright posture. Creating space. It's first of all about having good posture. And once we have the posture, we need to start to open up the surrounding tissues that surround the lungs. So the rib cage, the muscles in between the ribs, on top of them, as well as the connective tissue that surrounds the entire abdomen, all the way up to the chest, the shoulders. And all of this space can be created so that we can have a more easeful, fuller, and more effective breath. So we're going to do a twist. I'm going to put my feet flat on the floor, hip distance apart. Feel like I have a real good purchase through the soles of my feet or my shoes. And then I'm going to sit upright, of course, with the shoulders over the hips and the ears over the shoulders, and feel like my spine is really tall. Then I'm going to take my right hand around behind my right hip. I'm going to take my left hand over to my right knee. I'm going to take an inhale. And then as I exhale and draw my belly in just slightly, I'm going to turn my ribs. Inhale and turn forward. Exhale and twist. Again. Lift the spine on the inhale. Engage the belly as you exhale. And then stay here for 3 breaths. Now we're challenging the diaphragm, the breathing muscle, because the abdominal contents are compressed. So as you inhale, it's harder to take a full inhale. So without straining, we're sort of challenging the outer edges of the breath. And then as I inhale, I turn forward again. Do the same thing on the other side. So an inhale starts the process by sort of encouraging the lengthening of the spine. On the exhale, the ribs turn. Inhale, relax that a little bit, press through your sitting bones and lift. Exhale and turn. Inhale, relax, unwind, and lift. Exhale, turn as the belly draws toward the spine. Stay here. Use the diaphragm to really lift the rib cage and press down into the abdominals. And then as you inhale, turn forward, relax. You might widen your feet and knees a little bit, and then just bend forward to allow the spine to stretch out a little bit. So maybe once or twice a day, and 3 turns in and out, followed by 3 to 5 breaths in the twist on each side. You do it on both sides because it affects each side of the rib cage, each side really of the torso differently, depending on which direction you're twisting. So we want to make it even. There is an additional benefit to this if it's helpful for you, and that is that because we're rotating the spine, it's good for the vertebral disc, so it's healthy for the spine. So give it a try, see how it goes, and we'll talk soon.